Don't you just hate when you're fly fishing with your cowboy buds and a giant snapping turtle just comes and kills everybody? What's up, guys? I've got some new art from Wild Imaginary West that is finally ready to share. I've been away, very busy this summer, working on this awesome game with Rune Foundry and Caleb at Boylai Hobby Time, and it's finally ready to share. So, new stuff to show, also some cool things that I have learned working on this project that I thought would be helpful to other artists out there. So lots to talk about today. But first, this scene that we're looking at here is something that you definitely need to check out at Boylai Hobby Time. Caleb actually took this painting and created this unbelievable diorama scene, actually handcrafted this thing. It's awesome. It's the most addictive channel on YouTube, so caution, but insanely cool as an artist, getting to see my work get made into something. This project has been awesome. It's really one of my favorite things I've ever worked on because it is a embodiment of the 80-20 rule, right? We've talked about that before, where something is mostly familiar, but with just a little twist on it, a little something extra to make it cool and interesting and something we haven't seen before. Wild Imaginary West is that. It is mostly a Western, mostly cowboys and trains and Old West towns and saloons and gunfights, but there are monsters here. There are mechs walking around. There's all this hidden mystery and drama. It's just a little bit of something I have never seen before, and that's the playground for concept artists. That's where we get to do that cool little extra. For this video, let's look at environments, because there's some workflow things that I really cemented for myself working on this that I think will be helpful. To start with, a general idea that as artists, it's really daunting when somebody just tasks you with, hey, paint a cool river scene of a turtle attacking some fishing cowboys. Oh, and there needs to be a mech in there, and the river needs to look realistic. It starts becoming this like overload of, how am I going to do all of this? Like, that's impossible when just your brain gets confronted with that. Lots of challenges in art are like this, like paint a character that's realistic. Well, okay, anatomy, clothing design, like there are just lots of steps. So instead of just dumping the whole thing in your lap as an artist, I find it makes it much easier when we turn it into manageable steps. So let's check that out. I want to show these sketches that I did for all of these different scenes in Wild Imaginary West. And for the most part, I would start with some very rough pencils to get an idea of what I wanted, but then I quickly move into these tonal studies, kind of these tonal block-ins, where I have darker objects in the foreground, and then things get steadily lighter as we move out into the distance. You're probably familiar with this. It's a concept called atmospheric perspective, where things basically get lighter, or more accurately, they get closer to the color of the sky as we move away. So dark near, light far away, to just oversimplify it. That really helps me kind of visually organize things when I sketch in this way, because I can figure out composition. So for this scene, we have some cowboys walking through a forest, and there is a mech in the forest. There's some guys carrying saws. This is like a logging team going out into this forest of these giant like redwood trees to harvest lumber. So I need all of that stuff to work, but with all of these shapes to juggle, atmospheric perspective helps me compose things in a way where I can tell what is near and what is far, but it also helps me carve out shapes for silhouettes to really stand out. So where these figures crossing this foreground hill, I have very light objects behind them so that that darker silhouette will stand out. Or for this cool big spidery mech, he is mostly against lighter objects in the background, and I've also set things up so that I can shine a light on it coming through the trees. So this idea of just using silhouettes to compose your scene is incredibly useful. It lets you organize things. It lets you figure out, maybe these figures might look a little more dynamic if we slide them up a little bit. Or You know what? That tree off in the distance is kind of competing with some shape in the foreground. So if I just move things a little bit, I don't know, it lets you kind of quickly visually organize things by depth and by how silhouettes stand out against something that's farther away. Let's look at a few others. So like cowboys coming down this hill with this titanic mountain in the background. It's kind of like desert scene, but cranked up to a fantasy level of scale. But we have this cool, crazy flying thing in the sky. Silhouettes are telling all of the story here. We get a really clear view of all of these riders on their horses because they're silhouetted against a lighter background. And the entire sky kind of leaves this big empty shape for this huge flying monster in the sky. I love that. It's kind of letting shapes do all of the lifting for us. Kind of a truism in art that I've found, no matter how complex a painting gets, a design, anything, if we can let shapes do the heavy lifting for us, if we can have shapes kind of tell our brain what is what instead of like relying first on fussy, heavy-handed rendering, it seems to just about always work best. If I jump ahead to detail, or if I'm relying on texture or photo textures, some kind of special brush to get a lot of information out there, it's not necessarily going to work. And shapes scale well. The sort of sad reality is that our art most often gets seen about this big or at thumbnail size. So we need our work to scale well. We need work to look cool this big, and also when somebody clicks in and zooms to look at all of your cool little brush marks. Designing and even painting with shapes in mind first will always keep you on track with this. So, taking a look at these two sketches, the forest scene and this desert scene with the flying creatures, let's skip to the final paintings. Even with these much more complex renderings, I never lost sight of those shapes at their core. Those silhouettes that need to stand out, either a dark silhouette standing out against a light background, or something with a highlight on it that has something dark behind it. The shapes of light and dark, the shapes of the silhouettes themselves, always give us the best information that our brain just instantly gets. I love that. Let's take a look at a couple of others. There's this cool frozen mountain pass with this cowboy who's like struggling through the cold, trying to get to this very sketchy looking footbridge so that he can reach the sanctuary of this outpost. And this again is based on a Boylai Hobby Time diorama. I just can't get enough of this stuff. This has been the coolest like playground for a concept artist to play in. So just with that, these shapes, this story, it already just gets my imagination sparking, and it's just very cool raw materials to play with. But once again, atmospheric perspective. Our foreground figure is dark, and things get progressively lighter as they get farther and farther away. So if we jump to our final painting, we can see that atmospheric perspective is still there. Like the farther into this snowstorm our eye drifts, the lighter things get. It's like it's disappearing into the fog and getting lighter and lighter in value key as we go. But I've also made this background behind this outpost building a little bit darker so that I can shine a little bit of a light on the building itself. I love thinking as value lighting as a stage. Like you are that guy with the spotlight deciding where the audience gets to look. We are literally shining a light, just this narrow little beam of light that could fit through this frozen canyon and shine a little light. It's almost like a video game, like showing our dude, here's your objective, this is where you need to get. An oasis, this little spot of warmth that will save him from this blizzard. So I hope you found that useful. A few things about shapes, about using light and dark to compose scenes, but taking that concept even from your earliest phases all the way through to your finished painting after every fancy brush mark and layer mode and effect and texture that you add, never losing sight of those silhouettes and shapes. It will make sure that your painting stays on track and stays readable even to that final brush stroke. I'll be posting more of the stuff I've been working on for Wild Imaginary West. If you want to learn more about the game, I'll include some links in the description, as well as to Boilai Hobby Time. You should definitely check that out. Cool guys, I am back on YouTube, so more stuff coming from me soon. Hope you're having a great summer, and I'll see you soon.